Hi everyone, it's Lori Langford. Welcome to my channel. In this video, I want to show you my technique for creating impressionistic artistic images using Photoshop. So in our first video, we reviewed this image and how we created that embossed look to a field or grouping of flowers. So in our next example, we are going to create an image where you have kind of a sketch look behind your original image. And again, we're going to do this using Photoshop. So let's jump over to Photoshop. And remember, I shot these on a light tracing pad. If you watch video 1, you'll hear a little bit more about my process. I also have linked below a tutorial on how to capture using a light tracing pad. So let's get started with this image. You will see this is the before, and for this image, this is pretty much straight out of camera, again shot on that white surface. So the first thing we want to do is very similar to video 1. We're going to duplicate our background layer, which is Command J. Then we're going to go to Filter, Stylize, and this time we're going to use Find Edges. So we're going to let it find the edges here, and it's really fun the way it brings out some of the colors and the tones. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to use Transform. So we're going to do Command T, and at this point we can move, and if you want to lower your opacity, that will help you be able to see what's underneath. So you can kind of move it around and also stretch. So we want to stretch both ways. And then again, kind of move this where we want it. Now you can go as large with your shadow effect, or you can get in a little bit tighter. It's really a personal preference. So I think that looks pretty nice. You can also turn it. So for some reason, you're wanting things to go a particular way. That can also add a little bit more interest and whimsy. You can also pull things out a little bit more or tuck them in. So I think I'm just gonna leave it about like that. I just want a small shadow in this one. It has a lot going on, so we have to be careful. So I'm going to click Enter. And now at this point, I'm going to leave my opacity at 50%. I'm going to try different blend modes. So just like we did in the first image, different blend modes are going to give you different effects. I do find though that with this style, so there's difference in exclusion. Those are kind of interesting. Multiply is probably one of the best options, or even darken. You can also just keep it on normal, but then you're going to have to mask a lot more. So I do tend to like probably multiply for this. Now you can come back and reduce your opacity more if you just want a really subtle effect, or you can raise it maybe about 30% for more. Then at this point you can add a mask. You could be finished with your image, but you could also mask. So what I like to do is come in with a black brush, and I want to clean up just around my main subject. So I want to make sure that my main flowers still have some of their integrity, and I want it to look more like I intentionally put some of these subjects in here. So I'm going to clean up this poppy and just kind of come around and maybe make sure all the details are here on some of the key flowers. So the main thing I wanted to clean up was the sunflowers. Sometimes when you have flowers like a sunflower, it can definitely look a little strange if you don't clean up some of those petals around there. All right, and then at this point, you can do your Command, Option, Shift, and the letter E. That's going to give you a stamped layer. And then if you like an oil paint effect, you can go now to Filter, Stylize, Oil Paint, and here is where you can, I keep it all the way on the right, all the way on the left for lighting. Click OK. You can see it gives us a really nice soft look, and I'm going to lower the opacity again, probably about there. Now, if you decide that you wanted to alter, you would have to go back in your steps. So you always want to make sure you have your layers right before you do that stamped layer. Okay, so this was one method using that fine edges. I also did this image. Now this image, you can see I did a lot more to it. So let me walk you through the options really quick. And so this was the original image. It was a very simple grouping of flowers. And I did the same technique. I duplicated my layer and then I added the find edges. I transformed it and I moved it around. And for this one, I kept the layer at normal. So I just kept it at normal. And then you can see I applied a mask and I really worked to mask back in the flowers that I wanted. So then I did a stamped layer. So I did the Command, Option, Shift, and the letter E. Then I added a curves adjustment just to bring out a little bit more of the whites. I also did a selective color, which is where I worked on the blues a little bit. And then I decided I wanted to add a second layer. So I duplicated the background and I moved it up in my stack. And from there, once I moved it up, you'll see it's duplicated. And then I used the mask to again mask it out. So this was before, and this is where I added it and then I transformed it. I wanted to really fill in these blank spaces with some more of the flowers. And I did some selective color, and then I did a stamped layer, and then I went in and I actually duplicated the flower and added it to the corners so that I have 3. So in order to do that, I will show you really quickly. I just duplicated my layer, and what I'm going to do is add a mask, and I'm going to invert it. And now on this layer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to transform and I'm going to move it where I want it. Now let me flip this mask so that you can see it. There it is. So I'm just moving it around with that Command T to transform it, and I'm moving it where I want in the image. I can also come in and kind of turn it, maybe add a little whimsy to it. All right, once it's there, I can see it. I'm going to keep the opacity up, but oh, we don't want to do that. What I'm going to do now is invert my mask, and I'm going to grab a white brush and I'm going to bring back what I just added. So I know it's right here, and I'm just going to bring in that other blue bloom. And then I'm going to just go and do that a second time. Now you just have to think about, you can flip it back and forth to kind of keep some of the details around, but then bring that flower in. And so I did that a couple times. You can see I did one here, and I can come in and modify this if I need to with Command T. I can move it down or around and adjust it. I could also turn it if I want it a little bit different. So that's how I created this image. So just a little something different using that same technique. Then this is the last one that I created, and I wanted to show you that this was the original. I duplicated the background, and for this one, I did overlay. I felt like overlay gave it just a really soft effect, and I wanted to create that as a different view. And then I duplicated it just like I did in the last one, and I duplicated it again, and then I finally did a selective color to enhance the greens. So it went from just a really simple kind of shot of some wildflowers to adding this beautiful detail behind it, so it looks more like something that I captured out in a field. All right, so again, this is under Filter, and you want to go to Stylize, Find Edges. I hope you'll have fun playing with this technique or the emboss technique. I will do another video shortly showing you an additional option.